Financially raw, real, authentic wisdom with Lourens Oberholzer from Retire Rich and Happy.
Lourens brought in Warren Rocchi. Warren, you were here, oh gosh, I think even last year, hey?
Yes,
when was it?
End of last year, about September, October last year.
So we thought this would be really cool because Warren was at the very first.
The first one where everything went wrong.
What went?
Gee, yeah, we had our first one and we got to the venue and they pulled out the whole restaurant. They were renovating. They were.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah, it was a nightmare. But still, Warren learned, and here he is a year later.
So, Lourens, do you also, since that first one, have you sort of changed the way the Financial Freedom Forum works?
Yes, the content is very much the same. It always evolves because as I talk to people, they ask me questions, and the questions that pop up a lot, I add to it, and we expand on the content. But the basic content has stayed the same, where we talk about budgeting, we talk about how to get rid of debt, how to get rid of your bond, what kind of investments to invest in, how to become an entrepreneur, and all of that. So that stays the same. The content will change a little bit. You know, it's always good for people. They say repetition is the mother of skill. So if you've been there once, it doesn't mean you shouldn't come again, because there's always new information. There's things that you forgot.
And I think it also, there's definitely stuff you'll forget, but you also might be in a different place in your life.
Yes.
At another one.
And sometimes the penny just drops at that point.
Yes, exactly. Okay, so Warren, let's hear from you, straight from the horse's mouth. You went to the first Financial Freedom Forum. What did you learn? How did it change sort of your financial brain? Could you call it that?
Yeah, sure. So what happened is it actually culminated everything that Lourens had been telling me from the earlier point when I'd met him in private. And it was just nice to be in an environment where there's a whole bunch of people that are concerned about their financial future. So you're surrounded by like-minded people, and the content was phenomenal. And above the drilling and sawing, we took quite a bit out of it. And you know, if you look at it from a holistic point of view, it's all logic, and it's very simple, basic advice. But so few of us actually get it and get it in the right order. So the way Lourens just packages it and gives it to you in these little bite-sized chunks, it's so easy to take and implement, and you actually leave that forum feeling very inspired and ready to take action, and that's the bottom line, is you need to take that action
and then carry on with the momentum of doing that.
Yes, it's the implementation and then the determination to push through until you've reached your goals.
So, Warren, you've been with Retire Rich and Happy now for about a year. What difference has this made in your life?
It's been quite phenomenal. So, you know, essentially when I first met Lourens, I had some of the things in place, but not quite in the right order or the right ratios. And Lourens helped me really do that, which was step one, which was
minimize your risk.
Minimize your risk, absolutely. So it's getting your life insurance in place and making sure.
That's it. So those are your insurances, not to be overinsured or underinsured, to make sure.
Spend just enough money on what if to make sure that your lifestyle stays the same, but not too much, because you want to invest.
Okay. So you started with step one.
Yeah, so I started with step one, and I mean, I'd done a few of the steps and maybe not quite in the right order, but I had additional income streams. But once again, the part that I was getting critically wrong is those were just going straight into my budget and being spent. So
yes, which is what everybody does.
Everybody does.
So
yes.
You'll get a raise at work, and then you say, okay, cool, I can spend more, or I can buy a new car, or that is what everybody does.
More money, more problems.
Yeah. Okay,
exactly
so step two, because you're now on step 5. So, Lourens, is that sort of within a year, or most clients or most people at step 5, or does it completely
Warren
change?
is a little bit ahead of the curve. He just, and that's the thing, it's just about implementation. So what Warren did is, and what a lot of people don't do, they're not ready at that point yet. So they learn, they implement some of it. Warren just went and he just implemented everything. And he just started working on it. And from step 1, now a lot of it he already had. Step 3, becoming an entrepreneur. He was already earning alternative income streams. He was just not using it correctly. So we didn't have to start a business from scratch. He already had one. He just had to make it work for him better. The same with investing in income generating assets. If I remember, you had 3 properties.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, he already had 3 properties. But those 3 properties, the income was going into his normal lifestyle income account. Okay. So he had a lot of it in place. We just had to make sure that he does it the right way. And now he's busy paying it forward. And I think that's part of why he's here today, is to pay it forward as well, to just share how he experienced it.
Absolutely. And I think the one big thing that I didn't realize is I was, whilst I was building these great investments, I was also drowning in debt on the other side. And that's something that, working through the journey with Retire Rich and Happy, I've actually, all that debt's gone now.
Sure.
And the amazing
so you've
thing
gotten
now
rid of your debt now in 1 year.
And it all just rolls into forward thinking, and now everything is going towards investment. And together with Lourens, can I mention?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we've actually I've pitched an idea to him. It's called VCS, Variable Cost Segregation, and it's something that I've actually presented to one of his forums, and it seems very, very promising. It's completely simplistic, but it's the advice that none of us ever had before.
On how to make these things practical in your life. And that's what Warren's done, is as he was implementing, was saying, well, for me as a person, it's a little bit difficult, so let me find a way to make it practical. And that's where he came up with variable cost segregation, which is awesome. It's just about taking your account and splitting it between 2 accounts, your credit card and your transactional account. And you use that to build up a cash flow and build up investments from there. So it's actually amazing.
How diligent do you have to be in order to get rid of your debt and to implement these sort of things in your life?
In the beginning, it's quite difficult because you have to be very aware, and you need to make the big differentiation between living expenses and lifestyle expenses. So a living expense is something that keeps you alive, for example, food. But a lifestyle expense would be something that adds convenience to your life or adds comfort to your life. And a lot of the time you have to look into those and trim them down in that. But after a while, it just becomes automatic. And when it really becomes exciting is when you start seeing the results. And then you just more and more amped to actually find ways to just reduce those unnecessary expenses, throw them into investments and earn income off that.
I always do compare it to sort of the health and wellness fitness industry, that you have to be super diligent in the beginning. And then once you reach your sort of goal, it's much easier to maintain than to get to that point. Exactly. Yeah. So it's a very similar sort of thing. Yeah.
It becomes a habit. And a lot of it initially is awareness. I think if Warren spoken before about when he implemented the strategic expense planning exercise initially, but 80% of it is just the awareness of where is my money actually
going. That's it. So that's when a budget is so important.
Yes, obviously. And when you know where it's going, then suddenly it becomes quite easy to see where you're losing money, where it's falling through the cracks.
Mike asking about the best way to pay off your credit card. We're going to answer that in just a bit.
Financially raw, real, authentic wisdom with Lourens Oberholzer from Retire Rich and Happy.
We've got Warren Rocchi in studio, who was at the first Financial Freedom Forum. He's been with Retire Rich and Happy now for a year, and it's completely changed your world around. Mike was asking, what is the best way to pay off your credit card? Is
First
there
and
a
foremost,
best way?
Stop using it. No,
I've hidden mine, but then I have to unhide it around about this time of the month.
You can't hide stuff from yourself. Yeah. You need to get someone else to hide it for you.
Okay, so Warren is an expert
it's
because he paid off his credit card how many months after we started? About 7 months. He got rid of it completely. He's still using it, but now it's not in credit anymore. He's now got money in the credit card. So he's getting interest. He's not paying interest.
The banks must hate you.
Yeah,
probably, yeah.
Banks hate him. Yeah. Learn how.
Yes. So Warren, tell him how you did it.
Sure, absolutely. Like Lourens said, the first thing is you really need to stop using it. And when I say that, it's stop using it from an unnecessary point of view. What I found is a lot of people like a credit card, number one, because of the status it gives you. It's kind of not a cool thing to pull out a debit card in front of all your mates, especially if it's like the Mzansi, or, one of those kind of budget cards. And the other thing is that it gives them this kind of freedom. It's your safety net. Your credit card is your safety net. And as long as you've got it, you still feel fine. So I'll be honest, when I first cut up my credit card off, I kind of felt lost. I was a bit broken, actually, to be honest. I hated Lourens for a while. But you get over it. And now what I'm actually doing is I've got a new credit card with a much lower limit, but it sits in the positive all the time. And I only spend what I have. And that's just through segregating what my variable spend that I can spend per month is, putting that in the card, and not using my current account for that to cover that. So I never ever spend more than I have
Yeah.
Is it better? So say I get my salary and I pay off my credit card and then I use my credit card again. Is that better? Or is it better to just say, okay, I'm going to put 2,000 Rand a month into my credit card? What is the better way of doing it?
Okay, so the first thing is you need to do a proper budget. You first need to make sure that you have control over your cash flow. Because if you don't have control of your cash flow, what happened to you is going to happen again. You put the credit card away, you say, I'm not going to use it. But because you haven't got control of your cash flow,
I need it again
something pops
the
up.
next month.
So you need it again. So then you go deeper into debt. So that's the first thing. Get a strategic expense planning done or a proper budget drawn up. And then that budget, the purpose of that budget is to create a positive cash flow. That positive cash flow you then allocate to your unsecured debt, whether it's the credit card, the personal loan. And then you start adding or paying that off extra, not in what's the word I'm looking for? So you put that money extra into your credit card over and above the minimum payment that you have to make.
Yes, okay, which is actually paying off
exactly
the credit
so
card, not just your interest.
No, we're also scared about getting rid of our credit card because what the banks do is they move our zero. So what happens is you get into starting to earn income and you have zero in your account. So when the money comes in, you then spend whatever's left until you're up to zero. So you can't go lower than zero. Then you get your first credit card and they say, well, now you've got a 5,000 Rand limit. So what do? We then start and we spend up to the 5,000 Rand limit. So all we've done is we've moved our zero to minus 5,000.
Yeah.
And then we start running around minus 5,000. We earn, then we spend, then we earn, then we spend. And then the bank goes and says, geez, you're a good credit person. We're going to give you a 10,000 or a 20,000 credit limit. And then we move the zero again. So all we want to get people to understand is you need to move your zero back to zero and then actually move your zero into a positive 5,000 or a positive 10,000. And you're actually in the same situation. Your zero has just moved. You're now in a minus zero instead of a normal zero.
Fantastic. So that's the way to really think about it. We're going to have to cut it at that. And we're going to talk about this all day.
Financially raw, real, authentic wisdom with Lourens Oberholzer from Retire Rich and Happy.